man. They polled the NFL execs, scouts, and coaches. There may be more of these to come. I only saw this one specifically, but it was the running back position.
Okay.
And they ranked them based on average where everyone had them. And Jahmyr Gibbs came in at number 3. Spinny, you've been calling him the best running back in the league. How you feeling about that?
Who's ahead of him? Derrick Henry and Saquon?
I just sent you the list, Chris. If you want to get it up at some point what I'm talking about, I'll read it out loud. According to NFL execs, coaches, and scouts, Saquon Barkley is the best running back in the league.
No, I'm not mad at that.
I gotta agree, dude.
Yeah.
Pretty fair.
I gotta agree.
Just
from the workload, the production. I mean, all the above.
And here's the full
number
he
2
can
on the
handle a
list.
load. Saquon can handle a load.
Yeah, and number 2 on the list too. Like honestly, based off resume and what he did last year, I'm also not mad at Dick Henry being number 2.
Derrick Henry is rapidly approaching like top 5 running backs of all time.
It's insane the run he's on.
Yeah.
He's got to be on steroids. I'm just kidding.
Like,
but bro, what the fuck?
He's never. If you look back at his high school stats too, in high school one year he had like 3,000 yards and 40 touchdowns or something like that.
If it's not us, I hope it's the Ravens. Not even for Lamar, for Derrick Henry.
I like Derrick Henry a lot.
He deserves it. He needs that. Like, he's the best running back that has been like crowned as like one of the best.
One
all
of the
time.
best, yeah.
And he is. He should be.
He should be talked about when you talk. He's in my top 5 running backs of all time.
Derrick Henry or Adrian Peterson?
Derrick Henry.
Fucking.
That's such a hard question.
I might pick AP. Prime AP. Resume.
Derrick Henry's been in his prime his whole career.
Has Derrick
Henry's like the
Did Derrick win
LeBron James
MVP?
of running backs. Like he just keeps going.
He won Offensive Player of the Year, right?
Yeah, he did. AP won MVP.
Jahmyr Gibbs at 3rd though.
I got Gibbs at 2.
Yeah,
If
me
I'm
personally,
picking-
Gibbs at 2.
I got
picking
Gibbs.
a running back. I'm picking Saquon. He's the best.
Yes,
I'd rather
without
have
a doubt.
Gibbs over Henry right now.
Yeah.
100%.
You say that, but then Derrick Henry does what he did last
He
year.
does what he does.
Like I was
He's
saying
not
that last
falling
year. He did.
But also, like, how much did Derrick Henry
and
benefit?
he played less snaps.
How much did he benefit from the Lamar Jackson offense? Like, I think if you put Jahmyr Gibbs next to
Dude, I
Lamar
don't know,
Jackson,
man.
that would be a lot more open space for him. That would be a lot more quick reads. I think they.
So you're
I think
saying
Jahmyr
Goff's the
Gibbs.
problem.
I think Jahmyr Gibbs is the best running back in the
You're saying
NFL.
Jared Goff's holding Jahmyr Gibbs back.
I think he's. I think it's easier for a running back to be good if Lamar Jackson's your quarterback. Yes, but
I don't know, man.
That's just somebody else the defense has to
I
account
think that's
for.
disrespectful to Derrick Henry a little bit.
I don't think it's all of that, but I think it's a bump. I think if Derrick Henry would have been in Tennessee last year instead of Baltimore, he would
Well,
not have put
for
up those
sure.
same numbers.
Tennessee's fucking
That's all I'm saying.
Horrible.
And but
Spinny, he almost had 2,000 yards last year.
I know.
He had 1,921 yards. You want to know how many touchdowns he had?
14.
16 fucking
You
touchdowns.
know who had more than that?
Yeah, how
Jahmyr
many
Gibbs.
Gibbs?
And how many times did he like sit out the back half of these games? And people on fantasy were freaking out.
Jahmyr Gibbs had 20 touchdowns last year. Jahmyr Gibbs had, like 1,800 yards or
And
something
this-
like that.
and
And,
real quick-
that's with splitting a backfield.
The same
So
argument, though, that you're making for like him
If I could
benefiting
make the
Lamar.
argument.
Sorry. Taste your own medicine. Jahmyr's had the best offensive line in the league.
Jahmyr Gibbs had the best offensive line in the league, or one of the best offensive lines in the league, absolutely. But so did Saquon Barkley. And what Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley didn't do is split a backfield with another guy who is a top 15 running back in the NFL. So I think Jahmyr Gibbs is the most talented running back in the league. I think he is, if you give him the amount of snaps that those other guys were, if you give him the amount of run that Saquon Barkley will, I think you would put up better stats than Saquon Barkley did last year. He had more touchdowns than Saquon Barkley did last year. I'm not mad about this. I'm not mad that they ranked Saquon and Derrick Henry over Jahmyr Gibbs. You got to see it out of Jahmyr Gibbs. Can he do it for a whole season? Can he be the bell cow? Stuff like that. There are questions there. He's young. That's fine. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is the most explosive running back in the NFL. I think he's shown his ability to obviously do it out in space as well as do it between the tackles. And I think last year, when David Montgomery went down for those 3 or 4 games or whatever it was, and Jahmyr Gibbs went out there and he played like the best running back in the league for those 3 or 4 games where he was putting up 170 yards and 3 touchdowns every game, I think it's pretty clear that he could do it. That if it was called upon for him to be that guy, he can be that guy. Unfortunately, he doesn't, or fortunately for the Lions, he doesn't have to because you've got David Montgomery as well, who's an insanely good running back. But I personally think it's Jahmyr Gibbs. If you put Saquon or Derrick Henry over him, I'm not going to freak out. I can easily see why people would do that and see why a lot of people do that.
Yeah, it's Saquon Barkley without doubt. Jahmyr Gibbs, again, 2 is my 2 right now.
He had the most. I believe it was Jahmyr Gibbs had the most 10-plus yards
Runs.
just gained, like 10-plus yards gained. I think it was runs or passes by a running back last year, and it was, I believe, by double digits. So he's the most explosive player in the league, maybe outside of Jameson Williams.
Now that you could say for sure.
And the guy is, like I said, I think he's kind of knocked back because he has David Montgomery in his backfield as well.
The most 10-yard gains.
Most 10-yard gains by a running back last year.
So Jahmyr Gibbs 97, Bijan Robinson 94, Saquon 89, Henry 87, James Conner.
So 10 more than Derrick Henry, and 8 more than Saquon. With, like I said, you're splitting a backfield. So
I will say though too, those other guys sat out games. You know what I'm saying? I think Saquon actually literally sat out the last game of the season.
Yeah.
But listen, Jahmyr Gibbs highly efficient, is splitting the backfield, all that stuff like that. I think right now for sure you gotta give it to Saquon. I'm totally fine with Jahmyr Gibbs being number 2. I think there is that question though, like could he carry the workload the same way they do? There's no answer for it right now.
He did though. Like when David Montgomery was out,
for like 4 games.
I think Jahmyr Gibbs is by far the most versatile back out of those 3.
Yes,
like 100%. And in terms of the passing game, I mean, Derrick Henry will run through a motherfucker, but like you're not gonna see him, run a Texas route.
Yeah, he catches like 2 balls a game.
Yeah. So
I think there's an interesting conversation on where you guys are at with McCaffrey and Bijan, where they can kind of put themselves in this position, because I think that is the very clear top 5 to me in the league. I know McCaffrey had a down year last year, obviously with a lot of injuries, but where are you guys at with them? Could you see either them, especially Bijan, considering the same draft class? Do you expect them to kind of hang around each other for the majority of their career?
I think that once Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley inevitably start to slip, which is what happens with running backs, especially guys that put on so many carries like they have throughout their entire careers, not just their NFL careers, but their collegiate careers as well. These are guys that have been toting the rock for a while. I think Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson are going to be 1 and 2 in the NFL for a 5-year stretch.
Yeah. I see a lot of comps for Jahmyr Gibbs in the chat. I see a little CMC. See Marshall Faulk. For me, it's Chris Johnson. But better? Is that disrespectful to say?
That's kind of disrespectful.
To Chris Johnson?
Yeah, Chris Johnson was the best running back in the league for like 4 or 5 years.
Was he catching the ball like that, though?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, different time in the
Different
NFL,
times.
too,
I think for like...
That's how old we are, though, by the way. That's gross.
wait for like best pass-catching running back?
No, just
Chris
his
Johnson.
comp.
Yeah, account for Jahmyr. I said Chris Johnson. I said a little bit better because I think he's, like you said, I think he's a little bit better pass
Jesus
catcher.
Roger
Christ, dude.
Craig.
He did have catching.
His second year, I mean, he had 50 catches for 500 yards,
Okay, that's what Jahmyr's doing.
but he had 2,500 all-purpose yards and 16 touchdowns.
Didn't Jahmyr do that at all or no?
Jahmyr didn't do 2,500. I think Jahmyr had like 1,900 all-purpose
2
yards
grand,
last year, or 2000, right around 2,000. 2,500. He ran for 2,000 yards and then had 503 receiving yards.
Yeah, Jahmyr, like...
358 carries in 16 games. Jesus Christ.
That's crazy. And he's not a big dude.
No,
but they weren't touching him. He was getting
he's
hurt.
5'11", 195 is what it's listed as.
I forget who posted. I posted underneath the LNU post of like, not all Jahmyr Gibbs catches, but all the ones that went for like 5+. There was a missed tackle on every single one of them. I'll go ahead and finish what you were saying about a pass catcher, though.
Oh, I feel like him and Alvin Kamara play very similar.
Yeah.
2 really explosive backs that are also really dangerous on the pass.
Alvin Kamara
That's a good one, too. I think he's faster than Alvin. That's why I said Chris.
Yeah.
But that's been my second one, too. Because really, too, even like, that's why I think you call him great at this point, too, because like he's a mixture of like all 3, really. Like Alvin Kamara, Chris Johnson, and then the third, I'd say Le'Veon Bell. The patience.
Yeah.
He's just back there like just chilling like fucking Jason Voorhees, and he goes through, cuts through the defense.
Just standing up.
Yeah, it's just he's amazing, man.